So what is imagination? Now, if you look at the word itself and break it into three parts, and then you expand each of those parts into three distinct words, you get imaging a nation. Now, that might sound a little grandiose, but when you're imagining, what you're doing is you're imaging your nation. So let's look at how this plays out. First, you have imaging. Now, imaging takes place exclusively inside your mind, and that's why imagination is so difficult to nail down, because it's taking place exclusively inside you. And what you're doing is you're trying to image a nation. And this is the big distinction between the fallen world that we live in now and what was originally intended. Originally, you were supposed to make a nation. However, in the fallen world, you look around you and you see war and death and famine, and you go, man, everything's a mess. The Creator must have messed up. Every other human being must have messed up. So it's my responsibility to make the nation, the good nation. But that is not your responsibility. The nation, the good nation, existed before creation and it will exist after creation. You don't have to create that. Your job is to image a nation in your own likeness. Because when you make thoughts like, I like this kind of food, or I like this kind of sports team, or I like this kind of person, you want everybody in your nation to hold those beliefs. That's a national perspective. Everybody with me is going to be like this. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're responsible to image a nation in your spiritual likeness. This is a good thing. Now, you're misusing it right now, but it is something you're supposed to be doing. So let's take a look at how imagination is created. The first step always is going back to the spiritual nation. This is the nation that existed before anything was created. Father, Spirit, and Son. That's the original nation. Those three beings, that's what existed before you and will exist after you. So if you want to learn how to build a nation, you have to start there. And as you walk by faith in this world you can't see, this spiritual nation, which is more real than what you can see with your eyes, as you walk in this spiritual nation, you're going to be made by the Trinity into your own unique soul nation. And you use your free will to participate in that. Your faith-based free will, and you express what you see, what you receive from the spiritual nation in your own way. You become a unique being. Then you go to your mind and you say, mind, make a nation in my likeness, in my soul's likeness, because I'm walking with the spiritual nation. So you live in the Trinity's nation so that you can uniquely image your own nation. Don't ever be under the delusion that you're going to walk with the spiritual nation and then you're going to create the spiritual nation in this world. That is not your responsibility. You can see in human history, everybody who's tried to make a utopia, everybody who's tried to make God's kingdom on earth has all failed, because that's not your responsibility. That nation already exists. It's your job to image a nation in your likeness as you walk with the Trinity. So why are we even doing this? Why make a nation in your image? Well, the first thing is to create independence. We want to be independent. Now, in the Garden of Eden, we wanted to be independent from God. And interestingly enough, he wanted that too. But his intent was not for you to be separate in your independence. He wanted you to be independent, but yet still connected with him, still walking with him. So independence is good as long as you don't separate yourself from the Creator, which of course we did. We also want to create a nationality. We want to have a national identity, that we can realize who you are and who's a part of your nation. So you're independent and you have your own nationality. These are good things. Now, why would you want to be independent and have your own distinct nation? Because that's what makes a great alliance. When you have different allies that are independent from you and have their own talents, gifts, abilities, their own national identity, that's a very beneficial alliance. And this is what the Creator originally wanted. He wanted to have his own nation, and then he wanted us to be partners with him, but independent partners with our own nationality, our own unique identity, which is why he gave us free will to create that unique identity, and then ally with him, be an alliance with him. That's what he wanted. And an independent nation is a very valuable and desirable ally. If you look at through history, human history even, you can see that the greatest alliances were all independent from each other, but they all had a unique nationality, a unique services or products, whatever it was that they brought to the alliance. And that's what the Creator wants with us. So then we got to look at, okay, so who creates this nation? Does it just pop out of nowhere? How does it come to be? Well, you walk with the spiritual nation, you become a unique soul nation, then you image it in your mind, then it's up to you to go out and actually create it. You have to subdue this world. This world's running wild right now. It's lost in darkness and shadow. You have to go into that world and subdue it. You have to claim your land and say, this is part of my kingdom. This is part of my nation. Now that sounds really great until you actually do that. And then you realize you've got to fill it. You've got to grow it and cultivate it. And you've got to propagate it with your likeness and care for it. Fill it with love and light and life. And that's a big deal. Now, once you do that, it's still not over, because then you have to rule it. You have to direct your nation and build it up into something truly glorious, something that the Creator is going to look at and go, I want to be allied with you because look at what you've done. He doesn't need you, but he wants to be with individuals who are unique, independent from him, but still walking with him. So you have to be the subduing, filling, and ruling soul for your nation. So imaging a nation requires you to be the subduing, filling, and ruling soul. And that's our job as a spiritual being, to come into this wild growing creation, subdue it, fill it, and rule it in our own likeness, which is very similar but unique to the original Creator's likeness.